Welcome to the Game Caddie Play Channel. I'm Scott Moeller, and this is going to be lesson number 2 in how to use the Game Caddie to play APBA golf, and in particular, how to use it to play the master game. With me today, I have Jeff Boeding, who responded to the email that I sent out a little while ago, fishing for people who might be interested in learning how to use the Game Caddie or learning how to use it better. Jeff, you are relatively new to the Game Caddie, as I understand it. Is that right?
That's correct. I've used it a handful of times. Mainly, I thought I was fairly successful, but certainly not to the point where I would consider myself to be proficient, and that's why I'm asking for your assistance today.
Okay, well, great, because that's exactly the kind of person that I was looking for when I put that email out. Now, you know, sometimes people ask for the Game Caddie when they're brand new to APBA golf. They think that it can perhaps help them get their head around the game, but that's not the case with you. You've been playing APBA golf for quite a while now, right?
That's correct. I've probably been playing about 10 years, very familiar with the master rules, how all that works. When I'm in a pretty good groove, I'm probably playing 18 holes in 45 minutes to an hour.
And that's with one golfer?
That's with one golfer, correct.
All right, yeah, that's pretty quick for most people to be able to do that. So you have great familiarity then with the rules and perhaps a good memory too, because sometimes even if you know the rules, you can forget to do certain things.
Yes.
Particularly when it comes to lie rolls and wind rolls and all that other stuff that can go on. And that's where the Game Caddie can really help out, is to keep track of that stuff for you so you don't have to remember it. All right. So up on the screen, I think everybody's looking at Sooner Hills. This is hole number 10, and I pulled out Scotty Scheffler's card. He's out on bail for the purposes of our lesson today. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Jeff, do you know the reference I'm making?
I do. I saw it this morning, and actually I saw him hit his first tee shot today. So that's a bizarre. I mean, hell, I didn't even know that that was happening, and the fact that there was a pedestrian that was hit and killed, and that's tragic as it is. So
yeah, absolutely. And we don't have all the details at this point, or at least I don't. So we'll find out a little bit more about what was going on there. All right. So what I want to do is I want to jump over to the Game Caddie. So I'll come over here and click on that. And what you're looking at here on the screen is the Sooner Hills course. And I've already imported it. If you don't know what I mean by import, I'll click on the import course button here. Sooner Hills happens to be course number 35. I wish these were alphabetized, but every time somebody sent me a new course, I'd have to reorder these, and that would be a headache for me. So they're in the order in which I've either created them or they've been given to me. And I've clicked on Sooner Hills, and I'll just load it over top of itself here. There's no reason why I can't do that. Now, one of the problems that you said, Jeff, that you ran into was somehow you got stuck in basic game mode and couldn't get into master game mode. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. It's interesting. I'm not sure how that happened. You can actually get stuck in master game mode and not get back to basic game mode. But so rather than try to untangle what might have happened there, I'm just going to show you what you need to do when you want to go into master game mode. I'm going to click on the conditions tab because everybody can see that. But alternatively, you can just press the key combination Control-O. At least that's what it is on a PC, Control-O. And it's the letter O, not the number 0. Okay. And we want this configuration settings button. Now, one of the first things that you need to do when you're setting up to play a new match or a new round is open the configuration settings, unless you know that they're not going to change from what they were last time. And you come over here, and under game rules, you would select master. And you'll notice that basic is grayed out. And that's what I meant by you can get stuck in master game mode and can't get back to basic game mode, or at least it looks that way, but it's not really that way. If you want to get back to basic game mode, and I know that that's not what you want to do, but you would come down here and click on my mouse is jumping around a little bit. Click on the reset options. That will put everything back to factory default. And the factory default are the basic game rules. So what would happen I'll just go ahead and click on it. Okay. You can see now you got a bunch of other stuff grayed out because you're in basic game mode. And so you can't control wind. You have no wind automatically in the basic game. You have no dog legs in the basic game. But to get to master game, all you need to do is click on master. And then this little pop-up box, tells you what you've selected and what that does. So we can go ahead and close that. So, and you're playing with the master game lies, I'm sure, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If that distinction isn't clear to you, in the basic game, you have lie types, but you can't have core lies per se. In the basic game, you just hit the ball from either the rough column or the sand column, things like that. Whereas in the master game, it takes into account the many different lie types, including those that are specific to particular courses. All right. So the settings that you would typically use then, Jeff, would be master game rules, master lie types. You're playing a PGA tournament. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you would use original for that. The wind that you would select would depend on the course that you're using. And I think you told me you're using Sooner Hills for at least some of the rounds you're playing. Is that right?
Yeah, we had Sooner Hills was our last tournament that we had with the TGA Tour, and that used standard wind, and our commissioner sets the pin condition or the pins. He sets the wind conditions, and then he sets the course conditions. So when we go into a round, we know what pin we're going to be playing, what the wind is, and then that way every golfer that's participating in the tour has the same conditions, the same we're all playing to the same pin for a specific round, and we play 4 rounds. So okay, that is correct. Yes.
All right. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to get rid of you and me on the screen, and I'm just going to enlarge everything so it's a little bit easier to see what you're looking at here. So yeah, for Sooner Hills, again, the distinction here, the standard wind mode are for golf courses, APBA golf courses that don't have any special wind features. That would be courses like Magnolia or Metro DC. Those are some of the older courses that APBA put out, okay? But with the newer courses, most of them have wind conditions on some or all holes. And so we need to click modified, because that will give us a lot more options that we don't get when we're playing in standard mode. All right. Now, this is totally optional, but I like to have the Game Caddie take care of as much dice rolling as possible for me. So I click on auto roll. If you are playing Birthplace, do you own Birthplace?
I do.
Okay, so Birthplace is a horse of a different color, because on Birthplace, the way that the course rules read for Birthplace is that you roll for wind before each shot. You don't do that with any other course that I own, and maybe not any other APBA course. But if you're playing Birthplace, you'd also want to click on each shot, so that the wind rolls menu pops up before each shot, and you can then roll for wind. Okay. Manual is, as I say in the user guide, this is for, do-it-yourselfers and people with trust issues, that they don't trust that the Game Caddie is actually going to handle the wind the way that they want. And so, you can use that option. I never use that option at this point. Why would I?
Mm-hmm.
It makes things takes longer if you do it the manual way. Now, how do you do your dogleg procedures for the tournament that you're in? Do balls only have dogleg effects if they go through the inside of the dogleg, or does it happen if it's on both sides of the dogleg, or what do you do?
No, so we do it so that if your ball is either inside or outside of the dogleg, then you are using the dogleg effect. So
all right. You'd want modified, because that's what modified does. As it says up here, it applies the same rules for determining ball movement and direction independent of where the ball lands or carries beyond the dogleg.
Okay.
Now, I mentioned this feature in the last lesson, the dogleg roll distance adjuster. All it really does is if you select it, it approximates the result that you would get if you were manually counting out the grid lines in order to calculate the dogleg effect.
Okay.
And so you would, if you prefer that, and where it makes a difference between checking and not checking is if you have a hole with a dogleg that has missing grid lines or extra grid lines because of how that dogleg is drawn. This will use or approximate the use of those missing or extra grid lines, but not checking it means the Game Caddie will just use plain old math to figure that out.
So either way, if you just have it strictly on the modified, it will that still calculate your distance left or right without you having to manually do that?
Yes. The one additional thing that this tool does is that it will also approximate the manual counting out of grid lines for gentle doglegs. So
okay.
It's an algorithm, and it applies whether the dogleg is gentle, normal, or severe.
Okay.
I prefer not to use it, but I put it in there because some people asked about it or wanted that capability. So okay. it is in there. So there are some other features here that we could talk about. The distance penalty for hitting around trees. So in your tournament, well, you will know because you're a longtime APBA golf player that if you follow the rules in the rule book for APBA golf, the 2014 rules, it tells you that when you have to hit around trees, you're supposed to double your aim. Okay,
that's correct.
All right. And when you do that, if you're counting a distance penalty of 5 yards for every 15 yards, okay, then in essence, you're going to have a double distance penalty. And that's the way the Game Caddie currently works.
Okay.
When it's set to original. Again, there's some homebrew folks out there that think that penalty, that distance penalty is too much. And they only count the distance back to the center line. They don't count any additional aim beyond that. And so if that was your preference, you would click modified, and what it would do is it would cut that distance penalty in half.
Okay.
How do you guys play it?
Well, we play it with the original, so that if you, for instance, or if you're not stymied, but you have to hit around the trees, then we go double. So if you have 20 yards back to the center line, then your aim would have to be 40.
Right, right. And that would create a 10-yard distance penalty because 15 goes into 40 twice, and 2 times 5 is 10.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And if you wanted to, have that distance penalty only be 5 yards, then you'd click the modified.
Okay.
Obviously before taking the shot.
Right.
All right. So the scorecard autofill, that's just a nice feature. It can handle almost all scoring situations that come up. You can occasionally find one where it won't do what you want it to do, but you can easily override it on the scorecard itself. You don't need to come back here. And this setting here is the all-in-one screen locator is based on your preference in terms of where it pops up on the screen. I always like it on the right. The common WI charts for lies. My monitor is big enough, so I'm happy that they pop up. So the setting that I use is for show. Some people have smaller monitors and they prefer not to see that chart pop up, so they can prevent that by clicking don't show. Now, tree shot point of view. When you're in the trees and playing APBA golf, when you're in the trees and the shot has like it has a situation where it's clear that the outcome has hit a tree and it's bounced backwards. Okay. Do you find the new location for that ball based on the ball's original location, meaning the center line, because that's how the APBA game rules read, or do you use the player's position?
No, I think we always go back to the center line, so that's how we play it. So if you hit your shot and it's, say, 150 yards, but then your tree says that it clipped a tree and you're minus 50, then you just go back 50 yards, so it'd be a 100-yard shot. Or there are instances where you have a negative shot because the tree bounced behind you.
Okay, yeah. And so the original setting again means that it is the way it's written in the rule book, the APBA rule book. And some people think, well, that can end up with weird results where you're bouncing backwards and you're actually crossing over the fairway and you're now in trees on the other side of the fairway. And
right, okay,
weird things can happen in golf, but that would be pretty unusual. And so some people prefer that the shot be calculated from the player's position, not from the center line. And if you like that better, then click players.
Okay.
Now, do you have any special accommodations for players who have an A rating for working the ball, or do you just use the APBA shot result boards the way that they read?
No. So what we do, if you are working the ball, say 10 left, 10 right, whatever you're doing to work the ball, if you have an A-rated player and you hit the average I, then you are, how can I say it? I think you're automatically getting the work the ball effect. Yeah.
Yeah. You get a 0 in essence instead of a +5 or -5, something like that. Okay.
Right. So yeah. So if you wanted to work the ball 10 and you hit your average iron, then you work the ball 10.
Yeah. So you would click modified.
Okay.
And that is just for A-rated players. It overrides what the shot boards say, and in essence it populates that cell with a 0.
Okay.
So that you get the actual amount you said you wanted to work the ball. Okay. And then with minimum WI shot roll, do you put any restrictions on how much the ball can roll backwards on certain shots?
No, and I know there are certain courses that have conditions where if you don't hit it far enough, then it'll roll back 20 yards or whatever. Then that's what we use. Okay,
so that would stay on original. I guess one other question regarding when your ball is in the intermediate rough, do you use the intermediate rough lie charts, or do you use the regular rough lie charts?
No, we use the intermediate rough lie charts.
All right, so we'll just stick with original. If you use the regular rough for that, you would use modified.
Okay.
And again, if you're playing a particular course where you want, things to be different, and it's not part of your, I guess, your official tournament, obviously you can change these things to whatever you like. Okay. One last question for the configuration settings menu. Putting boards. Do you use the regular or the major championship?
We use the regular, and we do have one tournament major championship, and that's when we play Magnolia. That's always in the fifth tournament.
Okay.
So we will use regular, except in that instance.
All right. So then, and of course, major championship refers to the PDF that you can get from APBA, download
Right.
it, and it's those putt results that's there. All right. Now, all we have to do here is to click apply settings. And this normally, under normal conditions, this would stay the way that it is for the entire round. And if you save the Game Caddie and open it back up again, it's going to have the same settings that you had before.
Okay.
All right. So we'll click apply settings. Now, when you jump back and forth between basic and master game, as I was doing in my little demo there, the one thing you got to watch out for is this day wind, because when it's in basic mode, it defaults to no wind. And then when you put it back on master, it defaults to calm wind. So always do the configuration settings before you do your pin number, day wind, and conditions. Otherwise, these may change on you.
Okay.
From what you had. And maybe even before you, I was doing this presentation as if you were using a caddy that you hadn't used before. But if you, let's say you can obviously reuse the same caddy. There's no reason not to. You also want to make sure that you come over to the scorecard and you get rid of any scores that you've got in here, right? Because that's going to mess you up if you tee off and you've already got a full scorecard. So all we'll do here is click reset scorecard. And that does more than reset just the scorecard. It actually initializes some things on other tabs, but I'm not going to get into the details behind that. That's a deep dive if we go there. So I want to come back to conditions. Now, you're not rolling for the pin number, day wind, and course conditions. You're actually just told what they are, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And do you happen to know what they are for the last time you played?
I think our pin was 3.
Okay. So I'm just clicking on pin number here until it toggles over to 3.
Okay.
Day wind, what was that?
I think it was moderate.
All right. Click once for that. And then course conditions.
And I think they were normal.
Okay. We'll just leave that alone. Now, of course, with Sooner Hills, you also have a wind type. Do you know what wind type you had?
I think it was A.
Okay. And again, these are things you can just type over.
Gotcha.
And this box here doesn't actually do anything internally on the Game Caddie, but what it does though is that in case you forget your wind type, when you're getting ready to tee off, it'll appear on the Caddy tab, so you don't have to come back to the conditions tab to see what that was.
Okay.
The Sooner Hills. This is an important point that I pointed out in one video, but if you didn't watch that video, you wouldn't know about it. So when you import a course, whatever course you've imported or the last course you've imported will be the course that shows up across from this course box.
Okay.
But let's say I wanted to play Magnolia, but Sooner Hills is in here. Well, I've already got Magnolia imported. I don't need to go back and import that. So I would click on this course button here, and it's going to rotate through until it gets to Magnolia. In fact, it went to Seaside because I clicked one extra time. But we want it on Sooner Hills. And if you try to load a hole from a course that's different than what it says up here, the Game Caddie will give you a warning telling you wrong course.
Okay.
These two boxes don't matter unless you're, using my sister program, the database. So I always, call rounds that don't count for anything my rando rounds, and I always put a round number 1 in there. But you could write in 2023 PGA, maybe 2022 PGA Championship. That was at Sooner Hills, I think. And then you could make the round number be whatever you want. But these don't affect the operation of the Game Caddie whatsoever. Any questions that you've got at this point?
Well, and I think I've figured out why I was stuck in the basic game, because when I hit the conditions and then I set my pin and my day wind and my conditions, and then I forgot to go to the configuration settings to change all that so that when I actually started playing Empire, it was the basic game, and I didn't know how to get out of it, so I just played it with the basic game rules.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let me look at some of the other things from your email. You said in your email that you had trouble finding your second shot results. And I'm not sure what that means. Is there another way to say that?
Okay, so if you want to get out of this and we can just start.
Okay.
You got everything up there. So
well, let me go ahead and load a hole.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Sooner Hills, and I'm gonna load hole 10, and I'm doing that for another reason, but
not a problem.
And that's the thing with the Game Caddie, you do not have to play the holes in consecutive order. And sometimes, like when you do Ryder Cup, tournament replays, that will be the case.
Right.
But if you play out of order, you won't necessarily get the warnings that would allow you to take your momentum or your bounce back points. You can still take them, but the warnings may not work correctly because it doesn't know that the last hole you played was different. Now so there's a new hole warning here is that I'm trying to load hole 10 and it's expecting me to load hole 1. And I can override that by just saying, yes, this is the hole that I really want. But that's a warning because sometimes when I'm playing, I'll have my course holes in the wrong order. I mean, like one of them will have gotten misshuffled in the deck of course boards, and this will tell me, wait a minute, you're starting to play a hole and you're not playing it in the right order. It saves me a little bit of time there. Okay, so now because we're dealing with Sooner Hills here, and we have prevailing winds, and I think you said it was a type A, we'd come up here to the hole note, and prevailing wind A is a crosswind left. So I'd come down here and I would check crosswind left under the prevailing column. Okay. I don't need to do anything else other than that.
Okay.
And what the Game Caddie is going to do is it's going to take this dice roll that was done automatically. Remember, we're doing auto rolls here. It's going to take that dice roll of 34, and it's going to apply that and see what we get. Now, I'm going to show you a little cheat here. You don't need to do this when you're playing. I'm just going to show where did that 34 come from and what's going to happen. I'm going to click on the Conditions tab, and you'll notice that the dice roll is a 34.
Okay.
Right? So what the Game Caddie is doing, and we have moderate wind, it's coming down here, and it's going to look at the first roll for wind, and it's going to go, there's no second roll, because anything from 11 to a 36 means no wind on this hole. Right. Now, again, you don't need to do it, but I'm sure this is it's a workbook, right? So, I mean, these things don't happen by magic. So these sheets are interconnected with one another.
Okay.
And that's how that comes about. Now I'm going to come back over here to Caddie 1. And when I click continue, what's going to happen is it's going to say no wind. Well, it's not going to say the words no wind, but you're going to come over here to the wind boxes and you're going to see that they're empty. So there's no wind on this hole. So the order of things is you load a hole, you deal with whatever the wind is, and that menu pops up automatically when you load the hole with the modified wind controls. Come up here, look at the prevailing wind, and click the appropriate selection there. Click continue, and then the Game Caddie will give you this sheet. Now, the very next thing that you do, and you can do this in one of two ways. You can click the all-in-one menu, which is what I do, or you can press the key combination Control Q. In fact, let me just do that. And the all-in-one menu will pop up. Oh, I forgot to select 3 clubs. See, there's a dummy feature built into this that even applies to me. I forgot I put in Scotty Scheffler's information, but I didn't select 3 clubs for him. So I'll just do that real quick. Now, if I press Control Q, the Game Caddie's happy now. The common WI chart pops up automatically, and I've got the clubs that are available to me. Now I'm just gonna play a shot on my own, and then we can figure out what your question was about. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at the hole here. Okay, this is Sooner Hills, hole number 10, par 4, 376 yards with a severe dog leg. Now this shot is going to be affected once we pass the 230 yard mark. For every 5 yards we go past that distance, that shot is going to be affected by the dog leg. And because it's a severe dog leg. If I were playing under the original dog leg setting, not the modified, what I would definitely want to do is I would want to aim about 15 yards right. I would use something like a 2-iron. And with Scotty Scheffler's card, what I would hope, if I got something like his average W, is that shot would go along this sort of path right here.
Mm-hmm.
It would cut through. Right?
Right.
So let's just see what happens here. Who knows what I'm going to get? I'm going to select a 2-iron. And I'm not going to aim at all. I just hit it right down the center line. Oh, wait a minute. Add 20 yards to flight of all tee shots. I knew there was something else in there. So when you're making adjustments, these are course adjustments. It's not a wind adjustment. It's essentially saying you're hitting downhill, and this is pretty far downhill. So that ball's going to carry an additional 20 yards.
Okay.
We come over here to the course adjustments, click carry, right? And then if you're playing with more than one golfer, we're not, but if we were, we could click on course adjustments. It doesn't look like a button, but it is. And then it's going to say, do you want to copy that course adjustment to the other caddies? And it doesn't matter what we select here because we don't have anybody else in those other caddies. But in this case, normally we would select yes, but I'm going to select no.
Okay.
All right. And now I'm going to take the shot. See, all tee shots landing in fairway roll 5 yards left before any forward roll. Got to remember that. Okay, at 42 in the W column for Scheffler is a 4. That's his average W. So I'll come over here and show you. The roll was a 42. There's the 4 in the W column. Come back here. I'm going to put a 4 in here. I'm going to click the average WI button. And when you guys play, do you have the option of reducing 5 yards and increasing 5 yards, or do you just do the reduce 5 yards?
We just use the reduce 5 yards.
Okay. So
or if you don't, because you can do no change.
Yeah. Okay. And if you if you don't do it, you don't even need to click this button. But this is in case you clicked it and then you have second thoughts.
Okay.
All right. So now all we do is come over and take the shot. So that goes 235 left 5 with 20 roll. And remember, we're going to go 5 yards left before any forward roll. So we need to come back here to the course adjustments. And in the left column, we put a 5. Because this ball is going to clearly hit in the fairway. So 235 left 10 now. And roll 20. Let me grab a ball marker. So this is where you get into the funny business with grid lines. So let's say this is 235, left 10, and then roll 20. 10, 20. That shot ends up right there. So we need to, in the adjusted roll box, we need to put the 20 in there. And that location, oops, I forgot the dog leg, my bad. So it's because of the dog leg effect, we're going to go to 255 left 30. So let me show you how you do that. All right. So let me back up because there's going to be an extra step here. I totally forgot about that. So let me delete that out. We're just going to back up some things here. And I'm just hitting the delete key to get rid of that stuff. Well, let's go to where the ball lands. 235 left 5. The ball lands there. Okay? 235 left 5. I think that's 235. Might be right here. You got an extra grid line. That's the issue. Are you following me?
Yep.
Okay.
I got it. I got it.
Okay. So then we need to put the 5 left in here because that's what the whole note says. All right. And then we need to put the 20 fairway roll here. Right. And because of that dog leg, instead of rolling in the direction that I had it rolling before, it's going to go 255 left 30. Well, let's look at where that location is. And I'm going to use a different colored ball marker. 255 left 30 is going to be 10, 20, 30. All right. So that ball, in essence, rolled, get the cursor here, rolled from there over to there because of that dog leg. Now, let's take a different scenario. Let's say there was a bunker, here in the middle. Okay. Then knowing the path that it took, if that path took it through a bunker, I would have just stopped it at that spot. And then I would have adjusted the numbers over there on Caddy 1 in order for that result to appear. And if I couldn't figure out how to do that, as a last resort, I could see it on the board here. And let's say it was at 240 left 20. Let's just say that. As a last resort, I could just come over here to the place ball at location tool, type it in, and place the ball, and then I could put it in that fairway bunker, just like that. Questions about what I just showed you?
Nothing. Very, very clear. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Now I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to put him back in the fairway for this. And you can't always do what I'm doing, but in this case you can. The reason I can edit that line, I'm now putting him at 240 left 20. So I'm not at the location where he actually hit the ball. I'm at this new location, but instead of it being in a fairway bunker, I want to put it in a fairway. If I edit this, there are certain lies that I can use that are permissible, and those lies are they appear right here.
Okay.
And there are actually some others than these, but these are the most common ones that come up. But I need to do that before I open the all-in-one menu. And the reason for that is the all-in-one menu looks at what this lie is when it opens, and it does any needed lie rolls automatically for you.
Now, if you wanted to replay the hole because you messed something up, can you just erase shot 1 and then go back to your steps and then just put your shot result in and then follow the same? Yeah.
Yes. So the easiest thing to do, so that you're not having to do, deal with a potentially a different wind effect. The easiest thing to do in this situation, I'm just going to go ahead and close this so it doesn't confuse folks. Easiest thing to do. Let's say I do want to put that ball back at what did we say it was? It was 255 left 30. Let's say I want that's where it should be. I cannot edit these numbers.
Okay.
That will not work. What I need to do is click on the eraser tool here, and you always have to go with the highest number and work to the lowest number. Now in this case it's easy. We only have one number. We have shot number 1. But and I don't really recommend doing this. Oftentimes I say, if a mistake happens and you haven't figured it out for 2 shots, just let it go. Just play. But you can never just change you always have to change the last numbers that are recorded up here. So that, potentially could be a shot 4 before a shot 3, a shot 3 before a shot 2, and so on. But we just need to get rid of shot 1. So that'll clear all that out. And then I can come back over here and put 255, 255 left 30 in there. Place ball, it defaults to fairway, and record it. Now we're good to go, and I can open the all-in-one menu.
Okay.
So let me just come over to the course here for a second, and I'm going to get rid of this marker and just put this one over here. All right. So this is where his ball is, and the pin location. Did you say it was 5? I've forgotten.
I think it was 3.
3? Okay. 3 is right there in the front. That's a brutal pin location.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the Game Caddie will calculate our distance for us. We don't need to do any of that stuff. Come over here again to the Game Caddie. The first thing for your second shot, okay, and on par 3s, it would be on your tee shot. But reasonably speaking, you don't need to do this off the tee, because the tee, you're not going to reach the tee. You're not going to reach the green on your tee shot except for on par 3s, the vast majority of time.
Right.
So what you do is you want to come over to the carry objective. And that carry objective, okay, is referring to the distance from this spot to the line that the pin is on. Now, in this case, it happens to be on the center line. But if that pin were back here, it would calculate the distance to this spot right there. It does not calculate it to the hole. It calculates it to the pin center line.
Okay.
And it does take into account the distance you are away from the center line. So we're 30 yards away from the center line, so it's adding 10 extra yards to account for that. So, you don't automatically assume that you want to hit the ball 115. Now, in this case, you don't want to hit it any less than 115 because you're going to be in that bunker. So what you might want to do is try to hit it. If you're pin seeking, you probably want to hit it 120 and have the ball back up 5 yards. Well, let's see if we have a club that'll allow us to do that. We sure do. We have a sand wedge that carries 120, and probably, and I happen to know that if you get your average eye in this case, that ball is going to back up 5 yards. Correct?
Got it.
Okay. Now, because it's on the center line, we're not going to be aiming, right?
Correct.
But let me talk a little bit about aiming here before I take this shot. And I'm going to change the pin location so that it makes a little bit more sense for the discussion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for the time being, well, this is such a narrow green. You might not do this unless you're a super aggressive player. But okay, now I've got a good angle. Okay, and good angle means, this, but for people who might not know, a good angle means that your ball location is on the opposite side of the center line from the target that you're going for. And you'll also have a good angle anytime the pin location is on the center line. And you also have a good angle anytime your ball is on the center line. Now, I don't know if you guys play that way or not, but that's how the Game Caddie does it.
No, that's exactly correct.
Okay. All right. Now, so because we're hitting across the center line and we have a good angle, okay, then if we wanted to, we could aim. And the way that we would do that is we would put a number up here. Well, we might, if we were pin seeking, might want to put a 5 right in there. Okay. We want that ball to end up 5 right of the center line. Now, we aren't necessarily going to get that result, okay? But in this situation, we might want to aim 5 right. Personally, I wouldn't because the green's so narrow. But if I did, this is how I would do it, okay? Now, let's come over here and look at a different situation. And let's say now the pin location is number 4. Now we're short-sighted, meaning that our ball and our target are on the same side of the center line. So we can't aim. That's an APBA master game rule. The Game Caddie can override that if you want. But what the APBA game wants you to do in this situation, if you want to try to target a specific spot, is to work the ball. So when you're, I'm using air quotes here that you can't see, but when you're aiming and you're short-sighted, you are in essence working the ball. All right. Now, if we wanted to work the ball, we don't use this tool. That's the aiming tool. We use the work the ball tool. And so we might put a 5 in there for left. And then when we took the shot, the Game Caddie would use the appropriate work the ball column to figure out the shot result along with the regular shot. And when you're working the ball, you have to enter both the shot dice roll, well, not the dice roll, the PRN, the play result number, and you also have to enter the play result number for working the ball. Of course, you don't need to do that when aiming, but when working the ball, you always do. And if you forget to do it, and the Game Caddie sees that there's a number over here, it's going to throw a warning at you saying, hey, either put a number in there or take this number out.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get rid of this and let's just go ahead and take the shot. 120 sand wedge. Come over here. I'll select sand wedge. You'll notice that the approach shots, the clubs for approach shots are grayed out because we're more than 100 yards away with our carry objective. So you won't click on those accidentally. Take the shot. 31. Now you notice when I click this dice roller, you get 2 rolls automatically. We're not working the ball, so we just ignore the WTB number. All we care about is the shot number, which is a 31. We come back over here to Scheffler's card. A 31 in the I column is a 3, which is his average I, so I will take it. I think we're going to be real happy with this result. Okay, I'll put a 3 in here. Let's see. I don't want that. I want the ball to be on the center line, so I'm going to reduce that 5 yards. I'm going to take the shot. So that shot lands at 365. The pin location is at 360. The ball backs up 5 yards. We have put it right on the hole. So just as planned. Again, this is the hole we're shooting for, number 3. I didn't change that. So that ball landed on pin 1. And the green roll was -5, so it backed up right onto the pin location. Now what do we do? Okay, so because we're on the green, I don't need to update the shot. Okay, you only update shots that end up off of the green. Whenever you're on the green, you use the ball on green tool to update the shot. But we need to figure out how far we are in terms of our APBA dice roll for putting when your ball ends up on the hole. So this putting caddy here is designed for you to count the number of squares or straight lines and diagonals your ball is from the pin location. In this case, it's 0 straight lines and 0 diagonals because it's on it, right? Mm-hmm. So all I have to do is click the count button, and it will automatically do the correct APBA dice roll for me to determine the distance in feet I am from the hole. It's 8 feet. It's put it into the notes, and now I need to click the ball on green tool to register that shot. Now we are ready to go over to the putting boards. Do not, for a number of reasons, do not come down here to the clubs tab and try to navigate your way to the putting boards. Always the best way to do this is to click on this little button. Again, it doesn't look like a button, but everything with a double border in the Game Caddie is a button. Sometimes it's hard to see the double borders because of the coloring, but that is a button. Okay. Come over here, click on that. And now these putting boards are not automated. Okay, like the WI shot boards are. These you have to, manually figure out, whether the putt has gone in or not. These are the play safe boards down here. These are the boards where you're going for it up here. there's a dice roller that if I click these double sixes, it will do 2 dice rolls at the same time. They're independent. Again, there's nothing rigid about this. You can do whatever you want. You can even roll your own dice. You don't need to use the Game Caddie dice roller for putting. But I'm going to roll, and this will be my first dice roll. And this WTB is for an older version of the Caddy. I've never gotten around to relabeling anything here. But that can be my second dice roll if I need it. So I'll just click this once. My first dice roll is a 56. And in the P column for Scheffler, a 56 is a 24. So a 24 from 8 feet, I'm going to need that. He misses it by 1 foot. Put that 1 in there manually. The second roll is a 65, and in the P column, I'll just tell you that's an 18, and that's going to be in for quite a distance. So he ends up parring that hole. Okay, and we played hole 10, so the information's over here. Okay, questions on your part, Jeff?
No, that's very, very helpful. I think that I think that I was for some reason, if you go back to the main board, yeah. So when you took that second shot, I guess I wasn't really looking up at the top center part of that to see where that shot was going to land. I think I was trying to calculate something different. So yeah, so knowing that is at 360, and then that makes perfect sense. And I see why you, even with the Game Caddie, it's going to give you all the shots, all the distances for your clubs and everything. Having the course in front of you so you can do that will definitely. So now I do understand how to read that second shot.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad that you said that. This little tool here is called the new ball location tool. It will always, well, after a shot, and that's an important distinction, after you've taken a shot, okay, and before you have updated it, okay, it will always tell you initially where the ball has landed.
Okay.
The Approach Caddie approach shots are a special case, and I'll talk about them in just a minute. But it always tells you where the ball has landed. But the Game Caddie has no idea what that terrain is. So that's why when you update, you get that pop-up menu that asks you to pick what's your new lie that's there. And in our case, it was a fairway lie. And we have to tell the Game Caddie that because these courses aren't digitized within the Game Caddie.
Okay.
All right. Now, and then when you add your roll, your adjusted roll here, these numbers will change to reflect where your ball has ended up. So this is grayed out now because we've finished the hole. But if I were to put it, let's say a 15 into the adjusted roll, as soon as I entered that 15, this distance would adjust, assuming that there was no dogleg effect that we're talking about, that this would then change to 375.00.
Okay.
Because it's going to do that for you. Again, I want to just, at the risk of being redundant, when you complete a WI shot, and that, well, let me restate that. When you complete a shot and that shot is not on the green, and you can tell that from looking at your course board, use the update arrow. When that shot is done and you are on the green, do not use the update arrow. Use the ball on green tool to record that shot. Both of these add a stroke into the counter here. You can see how many strokes you have at any time in this box right here. If you use both of them, you're going to end up adding an extra stroke that you don't need. Okay. That's there. Now, I do want to talk about the Approach Caddie in the next 5-10 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. Because the Approach Caddie is a little bit of a special case. So let me just, I'm going to reload hole 10 here. so I don't have to, dig another course board out of my box. And I'm going to get a warning because this is not going to be, this is now expecting hole 11. Okay, so I'm going to choose hole 10. And okay, and so let's say we have some wind. That actually becomes a factor here. Dice roll is a 63, and I think we have an A. It's a crosswind left. All right. So now we're going to have a variable crosswind left. So we're not going to know the effect of the wind until after the shot is over. And our pin location is at 360, and I'm just going to arbitrarily put the ball at. Let me put it at 290 left 10.
Okay. If that actually was your shot, that's a heck of a shot.
Yeah, over that water and then and through the dog leg. Okay. All right. So, and I'm going to put the ball in the fairway just to keep things simple. All right. So you'll notice that all this stuff is shut down now. Okay. And why is that? Well, it's because our ball location, and I'll show everybody here, our ball location now, I think it's right there. 290 left 10, I think is what I said. Our ball location is within 100 yards of the pin. Okay, so coming back here, we're actually, our distance and our call distance, the distance to the pin and the call distance are going to be identical in this particular case because the pin is on the center line, right? But we have a call distance of 70 and a 2-pin distance of 70, and in fact the 2-pin center line distance of 70. Now the Approach Caddie works entirely differently than everything you've seen thus far, and it has nothing to do with the Game Caddie wanting it to be different. It has to do with the fact that the APBA golf shot boards are totally different. So when you're taking a WI shot, you hit that ball. And you're not necessarily hitting it at a specific target. You're hitting it, and that ball's going to carry. And then there's either going to be some roll, or there's not going to be some roll. But you're not identifying a specific target that you're going for. Whereas with the Approach Caddie, you are identifying a specific target, and that target may be the pin, or it may be somewhere else. But you're picking where you want that ball to end up if everything works out perfectly to your satisfaction. Okay.
Okay.
So the word target is a very specific word that I'm using. Okay. So because we've got a pin location that is on the center line, again, we're always going to have a good angle. Okay. When you have a good angle, the Approach Caddie is smart enough to know to make the target always that pin location whenever you have a good angle. Now, what can throw that off are things like wind. So this number would always target the pin location, but the wind effects, if any, and if known, are shown down here. Now, we do have wind for this shot, but we don't know at this time what those wind effects are. So it's just showing the same number that you see there. But if I were to change this, and I'm just doing this arbitrarily. If I were to say, okay, this shot's going to carry, oh, it won't let me enter it there. Let me come over to the conditions tab and do this. I'm just going to add a 10 in here. Okay, and then I'll come back. All right. Now it's showing a carry of 5. Now, why is it showing a carry of 5? Well, the APBA master game rules, right? So yes. A shot from this distance, you would have any wind effects, cut them in half. So if it would be 10, it now becomes a carry of 5. And what you'll know, so the Game Caddie is doing all that for you. You don't have to figure all that stuff out, and it will always remember. And I promise you, you will sometimes forget without the Game Caddie. And so notice what happens over here. So the target remains 360, but now when we factor in the known wind, It now is saying this ball, if everything goes perfectly, is going to end up at 365 on the center line. So in order to adjust for that, what I might do if I'm pin seeking is I might say, well, I don't want that location. I want to target 355. And now the wind adjusted target becomes 360, which is the pin location. Now, the shot may not work out that way, right? But, you know, that's the thinking behind how all of this works. Okay. Now,
okay.
a couple of other things. I am going to get rid of this. Oh, let me just get rid of that for a second, because I want things to be as clean to see as possible. Okay. Now, you know, I notice I haven't opened the all-in-one menu yet. In certain circumstances, you can change the direction that you're hitting from. Let me come over here. Now, let's pick a different pin location. All right. I want to get it off the center line so that this is a little less confusing. So this isn't so much an APBA golf thing, although many people play this way, and I don't know if you do or not, Jeff, but let me explain the concept, and then you can tell me whether you guys play this way or not. When you have an approach shot, you can choose to approach from two directions often, but not always. And sometimes you can't because that second direction just isn't available. So for example, let me pick an example here. If the ball were here instead of where I had it, and I was going for pin location number 5, there's only one direction I can approach from. I can't approach from two directions. But if the ball's over here somewhere, I can approach from the south. T is always south in the Game Caddie. So I can approach from the south towards this pin. In other words, I would be approaching along this line here. Or I can approach from the west, which is this line here. Or essentially this line. Okay. Now, why does that make a difference? What direction you're approaching from? Well, for most players, it won't. But sometimes if you have like a hazard and you want to avoid it and you know the approach boards well enough, you say, well, you know, shots of this distance tend to go to the right if I miss, and I don't want to end up over here. So instead of approaching from the south, what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach from the west. And now right becomes, if you think about this, right is now this way. If you're approaching from this way, this is right and this is left. Whereas when you're approaching from the south, of course, this is right and that is left. So it's really just an orientation thing. And how do you change your orientation? You do it with the path button. So it's giving me two options, to approach from the south or from the west. And if I click west, it's now going to apply the result from coming from this direction. Well, our pin is actually right here, so just do this. What it's going to do is it's going to approach a shot that goes to the right will go that way. A shot that goes to the left will go that way. A shot that goes long will go that way. A shot that comes up short will go that way. In the other configuration, in the one that it defaults to, and you can see it says alternate approach from west. But let's put it back to south. Okay, now alternate approach from south. Now, coming from the south, a shot that goes right will go this way. A shot that goes left will go that way. A shot that goes comes up short will go that way. A shot that goes long will go that way. And the exact opposite would be true of what I just said if you're approaching from the north, because the ball could be back here somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm approaching from the north, if that's my option, a shot that goes to the right is going to go that way. A shot that goes to the left is going to go that way. A shot that goes long is going to go that way. And a shot that goes short is going to go that way. Right. Now, that's a lot. And that's, you know, most people never even fool with the path button, but you do have that option available to you. Now, we're going to, because our distance is more than 20 yards, we always use the call distance here. So I'm going to take 50 to 70 as my distance, roll the dice. That's a 45. That's a 4 in the A column. I'll put that in here, take the shot. And that shot ends up with the, when you're taking an approach shot, 100 yards or closer, wherever this ball ends up is where it ends up. There is no roll associated with this. So this shot went 355, left 5. And that means, since we're approaching from the south, that means that that ball ended. Remember, the shot was originally from this direction. This is 360. This is 355. That's left 5. So the ball ends up in that spot right there. There's no roll. You don't fool with the roll. In fact, it's grayed out over here, so you won't try to fool with it. Questions about that?
No, all very self-explanatory. So is the south approach the default approach, or is it going to depend on, or is it going to pick the default for you?
Yeah, south and north will be the defaults.
Okay.
Well, no, stop. No, I said that totally wrong. Okay, the default will always be whichever is closer to the center line.
Okay. So it could be west and it could be south. Those are the options on the board.
If I'm here, the default's going to be south. If I'm here, the default's going to be west.
Okay.
And you'll always see what it is up here, and you'll always have the chance to change it, except in those rare circumstances where you're on the pin center line already.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Okay. I think that's probably as far as we want to go. We didn't have any wind on that shot. So the Game Caddie did that wind roll for us, but nothing showed up here. So the shot wasn't affected. But if it had, showed up, if we had some wind, that would have been taken into account for you. And it would be, show up in this calculation. So all we need to do at this point is update the shot. And then that ball, I don't know, it's either in where we had it before, it was either in the fairway or that sand trap. I'd have to get my magnifying glass out, but let's say we
always default to the favor of the player. So that we probably would have put that on the fairway, but it's fine.
Okay. And so now you're ready to go for your third shot. And again, this is going to be an approach caddy shot. And anytime that the 2 pin distance is 20 or less, in this case it's 5, there's nothing for you to do. Okay, here's a special case. All right, so we're going to select 5 to 10 because that's the 2 pin distance. Normally we would select the call distance, but we use the 2 pin distance anytime it's 20 or less. And then it says sand trap, additional putting distance recorded directly on caddy. Okay, so what happened is that the Game Caddie did a lie roll for me from the sand, and that lie roll produced an extra 8 feet of putt results. So when I take this shot, which I will, it's a 24, which is a 4 in the A column. Click take shot. That 8 has now become a 15. So the shot result was 7, and that got added to the 8 that was already in there. So our putt distance is going to be 15. And all we need to do now is record the ball on the green to count that stroke.
Okay.
All righty. Well, we covered a lot, and I went through that pretty quick. I know we went over a little bit more than an hour, but I hope that was helpful for you.
No, it was great. And I think that now that I kind of have a better understanding about how to look and read the Game Caddie, I'm going to have to give it a test spin here in the next day or two and see how I do.
Well, if you run into any problems, just shoot me an email, and I can often solve these problems right on the spot.
All right, very good, Scott. Thank you. That was very helpful.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
All right, you have a good day.
All right, rip it and rip it.
Yep, there you go.